Today on the Relationship Renovation podcast, we are helping you create your 2025 intentions for the year together.
That consistency, not perfection, is key.
It's all about knowing where you want to go with your partner. So stay tuned and join in the process.
Intention plus action equals results/connection. Prioritize your relationship this year, and you'll get to see all of the amazing benefits that happens from that. Hello, all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation podcast. I'm Tarah Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin. And first and foremost,
Happy New Year 2025.
It is 2025, and we are just like super excited to begin this year. Got a lot of like plans, a lot of visualizations, personally, professionally. It's just an exciting time of year, you know, when it's like you're booting it up all over again.
I feel like we called our 2025 year of metamorphosis. And I'm just like so excited for all of the growth that's going to be happening individually, as a couple, professionally, even our podcast, having more couples on, sharing their stories. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, we had that amazing episode just a few weeks ago with Tarah and Whitney.
They're awesome.
Which they went through just an incredible journey together. If you haven't listened to it, you have to listen to it. It is just it's inspiring how they took on some big challenges together, got some help, and are happier than they've ever been, and both like growing in amazing ways.
So I think let's just roll right into it, because we always do a podcast at the beginning of the year around setting intentions.
Yep.
Individually, as a couple, for your family, however that looks. And so we wanted to kind of model what that looks like, show you what that outline could be, because for me, I can't speak for you, but you know, if we can help just one couple feel more connected in 2025, I'm good. I've done my job. I mean, the hope is thousands, but
yes. And we've really we've listened to you all. I mean, and we're really lucky in that we do have people, like we just got this amazing letter from overseas about somebody who really identified with one of our recent podcasts around physical, emotional intimacy with their partner. And I mean, and you're listening and then coming back to us and giving advice or telling us like what you want to hear. And we're really wanting to be responsive. And so we first wanted to reflect just a little bit back on what we're hearing from you, and also what we're just noticing in our work. And one of the big takeaways that we emerged out of last year with is just how many people want to hear about intimacy.
Yeah.
About how they can be emotionally and physically connected with their partner.
I think us being really vulnerable me, like on my ugly cries, I think it just helps people feel like, okay, what we're going through is normal. Other people go through this. And I love that we can model that vulnerability, even if it's scary to be that vulnerable to the world and on YouTube. But thank you, because that's why we do this. And I can't do a podcast if it doesn't feel genuine. And I'm the first to say, like, I don't know everything. I mean, I know how to support couples. I feel like I'm really good at that. I know that I'm always growing individually, and that you and I are always putting the work. That's what we do now. And
just what we're hearing is just that this is universal. You know, and it's a universal struggle, and it's a universal desire. It's a universal want. And we are going to come back to this just over and over and over again, how almost everything we talk about on here on some level is about how do you just create this amazing connection with your partner. And so we're dedicated to that. We're going to have interviews with couples that talk about how they worked through it, how they got closer together. We're going to take on subject matter that relates to it. We're going to look at different interventions and ways in which you can get support as an individual, as a couple, that's going to help you. So one of our big intentions, before we get to helping you set your intentions, is our intentions is to support you in having an emotionally and physically connected relationship with your partner.
Because when you have that, freedom emerges in your relationship and in your life. And we all want to feel free to be who we need to be, and not suffer to help others suffer less. Because we live it, we know it, we've done the work for it.
Yeah.
And so now, and in it, we still stumble, of course, but that's okay.
And that's the other piece of feedback that we're getting, is just whenever either we are or other people come on here and they open up and they're really honest about their struggles, that's what you want to hear, right? Because it makes us, it helps you, it helps anyone understand that you're not alone. Like, these are normal struggles, and we're going to bring you information in a vulnerable way that's going to help you say, like, yeah, I identify with that. And yeah, I'm going to make an intentional effort to connect more deeply with my partner.
Well, I love these 3 words. We've got you.
We've got you.
We have a podcast last year around like the 6 words. So I just kind of we put 6 words. There's a whole podcast around there that you can put up in your kitchen or somewhere where you're like seeing it all the time. And it's just that reminder of like, oh, these are the 6 feelings or 6 important values that we want to have in our relationship. Maybe that we already have, but we don't want to like forget it, or that we're really trying to cultivate. And so we still have our 6 words up there. And maybe we can even do like another follow-up podcast for our new words.
Yeah. And so one of the first things we want to do is we want to say, it's super important for you and your partner. It's super important for you as an individual to set intentions at time. And this just happens to be the time of year where it really makes sense to do it. But anytime, monthly, weekly, daily, it's important to set intentions. And one thing we want to really differentiate between is what we look at as a resolution and an intention, right?
Yeah. Resolutions feel more rigid, like it's a resolute, like it's a rigid goal.
I have to do this. It sets us up maybe in a little bit more of a, like a firm manner where there's a lot of more of like success, failure. And intention, we look at more as it's fluid. It's a commitment towards moving in a direction. There's also an acknowledgement that it's okay if there's some wavering, but we always have that sort of flag in the distance, that intention of saying like, hey, this is where we're going together.
And if it's an intention that you're setting right with your partner, it's a shared commitment. We know shared commitments foster connection. We are in this together. You are not my enemy. And so again, it's a shared commitment. It's fluid, it's flexible, but you're working towards that same intention.
Yeah. And I think like when we set intentions together, what really works for us is the idea that this is an area where we both need work, like, where there's a big we. It's like we are trying to cultivate spirituality in our lives, or we are trying to have more connective, just together time together, and that we're working on it together, and that we're also sort of like empathetic to this is something that one or both of us at times might struggle with, and we're going to support each other through it in achieving it together.
And what I love about kind of the outline for setting the intentions is it's not rigid and it's not like that structured. It's just this very kind of 3-step process that is going to help the 2 of you have some shared commitments for the year, for 2025. And one of the first things we do, if we can just jump right in, is you're going to reflect on the victories and the struggles from 2024, from the last year.
Yeah.
So what were the wins? What were the challenges over the last year? And you want to make sure when you're having this conversation that both of you agreed to this time, because you're in this kind of mindset. It's not like in the kitchen while you're cooking and doing a bunch of stuff. It's like, hey, let's go out for dinner and let's set our intentions for the year. Let's just make it a nice an intimate, just the two of us time to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're hearing this and you're like, wow, yeah, this sounds like a great thing for me and my partner to do. New Year's was just a couple days ago. That introduction of the idea in a really like positive way, in a strength-based way of like, hey, it was just New Year's. I really want to feel connected in us achieving our goals together. Can we sit down and create our intentions together for the year? And so Tarah nailed the first one. The first one is just saying like, hey, let's look back a little bit. Let's look back at the last year. And we can role model this a little bit for you real quick. Is I would say that one of the victories is that we're coming out of last year really feeling sort of in a similar headspace.
Yeah.
Like you and I, like we know where we want to go. We know sort of the tone and energy around it. We may have struggled with some of our intentions from last year, but I feel like we sort of have a little boost in getting those intentions back online in the next year.
I agree with that. I would say for me, one of our biggest victories was creating some really healthy boundaries at our workplace, like some new systems that you and I did together instead of separately. Yeah. And so that just feels like, wow, we are a team in every aspect of our life, parenting, work, in the bedroom, like we're in this together. And I think sometimes like work, that was a challenge too, right? Like work could pull us apart because I do my things, you do your things, and we come together and it was like, oh, wait. And so we're trying to really do it together now.
Yeah. I mean, another big challenge for us last year was work-life balance.
Oh my gosh.
And making time for us as a couple, date nights, big things that are important to us that we really struggled with. And I like that language. Hopefully you like it too, that we struggled with, not that either one of us fell short, but it was hard for us last year.
It was.
Okay.
So first step, there we go.
We reflected. We talked about some things we feel really good about coming out of last year.
Triggering.
No. And we recognized that we had some struggles last year, which takes us into the second part of setting intention together, which is just like, this is I hope the fun part is let's just talking about our hopes, our dreams, like what we collectively want in the new year.
Are you asking me?
What do you want, girl? I think we want the same things.
My hopes, my dreams, priorities for the coming year. To get for myself individually, I want to feel really healthy in my mind, body. I want to eat really healthy, like lots of whole foods, but I'm not going to be rigid. I just want to feel like everything's working to the best of its ability. Spiritually, right? I really want to connect with my spiritual self. I want to take time weekly to do that, to cultivate my spiritual side. And I'm hoping that as a couple, in addition to myself individually growing in that way, that we can do that together. Yeah. Another dream I have is like that I just trust that everything's okay. That instead of like, oh, I have to like work 80 hours a week, or just, my anxiety. If you guys have heard our podcast, like I struggle with depression and anxiety. And sometimes it can just hijack you to places where like, you just know it's not me. And so I'm just like, want to shine. I want to feel like myself. Yeah. And I'm going to try to really be ahead of any of my negative, catastrophic stuff.
I mean, I think we can certainly make that a unified couple goal, because I have different struggles in that area, but I have things weigh me down. Like I let like intrusive thoughts just get into my mind, and then both of us seem like we're just carrying a huge burden around. I think one of our goals in this upcoming year is this like lightness and freedom.
Freedom, playfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like vitality. I guess the word for me is vitality. So that's going to be one of our 6 words, vitality.
I mean, we definitely are committed to to date nights, to like
that's a priority.
That is a priority.
Yeah,
that is
once a month.
Once a month. That's
crazy.
Achievable. That's a big important thing about your intentions is we want to increase quality time together. And one of the goals that we have is a monthly date night. That is doable. There is no way we can't do that.
So really quickly, so just to kind of recap, the first step is you're reflecting together on your victories, struggles from the prior year. And now you're talking about your hopes, dreams for the next year. So, right. So now I understand where your hopes and dreams are, right? You want to have more freedom, or I want to have more playfulness, and I want to feel really healthy. And so the third and last final step is you're co-creating these intentions together.
Yeah, you kind of blend it together,
so
right?
Kind of like what you just said, EJ, like we're going to have date night once a month, and we're going to be really consistent and sticking to that because that's so important. That's one intention. You could have 3 intentions. You could have 10 intentions. I'd like to keep it kind of short and sweet because I just know our life.
We both want to feel really physically well. We want to, so what that means is we want to support each other in exercising. We want to support each other in eating well. We don't want to be rigid though about it.
No.
Right. So that's a shared intention we have is a really healthy year where we feel good in our bodies, where we feel good about ourselves. We feel strong.
And for me as well, like sharing just gratitude, like weekly gratitude sharing. I feel like that's going to be really important.
Yeah.
Just to I think we can get overwhelmed with our 2 businesses and the busyness of life, right? I could name everything. And really, I'm just grateful to be alive and to be breathing, and for the gift of, I feel what my talent is, which is making people feel loved unconditionally, positive regard. So I'm just going to remember that that's my gift, and I'm okay. And so that gratitude, that weekly time to share what I appreciate about you, EJ, because I wouldn't be here in this manner if it weren't for you. So
I wouldn't either.
Gratitude and appreciation weekly with my baby is happening.
And then I think for us, before we kind of end this portion is I think spirituality is a big, it's at the head for us right now. It's so important. We're really connecting with it more deeply. We want to, that is nothing. I want to keep that road going.
Well, it's
together.
Interesting because we're connecting with it more deeply now, and now things are just happening.
Yeah.
It's just it's almost freaky.
Yeah. Signs, seeing things.
It's really weird.
Hearing the right things at the right moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So just to recap really quick before we go into challenges is that, really this process is about reflecting together on last year, looking at victories, looking at struggles, then talking about what your hopes and dreams individually together are for the year.
Dream
big. Why the heck not? And then using that data to sort of co-create these intentions together. Super simple. This doesn't have to take forever. It doesn't have to be really complicated. Just setting your flags out in the distance of where you're going together.
Love that.
All right. And we're big believers in predict, plan, and prepare, straight out of Dr. Stan Tatkin. Dr. Stan Tatkin. So we want to also help you know that there might be some challenges to this, right? There might be some obstacles, and you might as well be prepared going in.
I feel like if you're not careful, it could, if you have some patterns of resentment or oh, this isn't going to happen, or you said we were going to do this last year and we didn't. I think some unhealthy patterns could emerge if there's still some resentment there, or if 2024 wasn't a great year. And my to that is just okay, let go, because it's a new day, it's a new hour, it's a new year. So you can be aware it's there, but that's not helping me now. I don't want to stay stuck this year. I'm past that. I'm shredding that. Yeah. So you can have some. It's kind of self-compassion towards it, but you're also saying you're just not going to help me right now. So I'm not going to pay. I'm not listening to you. Yeah.
And those negative sort of scripts can be towards your partner. They can be oh, you don't follow through and blah, blah, blah. Or they can be towards yourself. that you can really be negative on yourself. And so just going into the process saying like, hey, there might be some negative thoughts that pop up. Let's do our best to notice them and then let them pass. Because I'll tell you what, everything that comes into fruition eventually goes away. And if you just notice that thought, oh, there's negativity, there's pessimism, okay, and then let it pass. Because one of the other obstacles to doing this in a way that feels really, really positive is just it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable for me to say like, gosh, I really want to connect, more deeply with you this year and really have these date nights. Because what if Tara's like, yeah, I got other priorities,
I would never
buddy.
say that, but yeah. No, but, so yeah, it's hard for people to be vulnerable. We're like used to just right, staying cautious somewhat to protect ourselves. But again, 2025, think big, hope big, dream big. You got this.
Absolutely. So just know there is the possibility of some obstacles. But if we go in with an awareness of them, it gives us a better ability perhaps to avoid them. So just sort of like internally, as you begin this process with your partner, recognizing, hey, there could be moments where we get a little triggered, but we're going to do our best to keep our hearts open and really just focus on the here and now of us creating shared intentions together.
I also say, I want to say that consistency, not perfection, is key. That don't beat yourself up if like we don't have our date night in January because somebody got sick or whatever, but we're going to be really consistent. Like, hey, even though we didn't get to do our date night, let's talk about what was that like? How do we make sure we get it in February? So consistency over perfectionism.
Yeah. So we would love if you share via social media. You can send it into our info@relationshiprenovation.com email, but just share what are some of the intentions that you and your partner have created through this process.
And remember that intention plus action equals results/connection.
This is what it is all about. It's about our commitment to help you guys have a more deeply connected relationship.
Prioritize your relationship this year, and you'll get to see all of the amazing benefits that happens from that.
Absolutely. Let 2025 be the year that you and your partner grow even closer together.
And as always, thank you for listening. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.